Hey everybody, waiting for people to get on and just waiting for people to come on live. Tonight we're going to be talking about stress eating, which is also known as emotional eating. So sometimes, that's what we do. When we are stressed out, we eat. And it can really, really affect us and impact us. So that's what we're talking about, stress eating and some of the triggers. This is part 1 of 2. We'll be continuing the other program, later on this week, possibly on Thursday or Friday. I'll let you guys know once we get started, when we get toward the end on 12/12. Hi, how are you? Thank you for joining. Thanks for coming on board. I know I'm starting a little bit earlier, but I had said that I would come on today. We're going to talk about stress eating. Those who know that we've already talked about several topics, changing your mindset as far as weight loss. This is your girl Essie. I have lost over 160 pounds. I had to start with changing my mindset so that I could be focused on what to do. Thank you for all of the likes. Thank you for joining. I hope you guys understand what I'm going to be sharing with you. And I hope that you enjoy it. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, share, repost. Thank you so much for joining. Let's get into our topic. I know I said I would start at 4:30 East Coast time in the U.S., but I've got other plans, so I wanted to come on here. Hi to everyone that's joined. Cindy, Salsa Jr., Angel Johnson, Kiki. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for the likes. Let's talk about stress eating because that's important with weight loss, right? Stress eating, and if I look down, I'm going to be looking at my notes because there are things that I think if we're planning and setting goals for losing weight for 2025, this is how we're going to do it. This is exactly how we're going to do it. We're going to encourage each other to talk about things that are impacting us so that we can set our goals for 2025. Thanks for everybody who's joining. Stress eating is also known as emotional eating. You're consuming high calorie foods. You're not really focusing on what you're eating because you're going through something. And how many of us are going through something? We all going through something, right? And so we want to make sure that when we are going through problems, if we're stressed out at work, if we're having any of those triggers, we are not sabotaging our weight loss goals for 2025. Thanks to everybody joining. Thanks for all the likes. I really appreciate you guys. I know I'm starting a little bit earlier, but we're talking about the stress eating for 2025 because this is the time of year that we are setting goals for 2025. Starts with getting your mindset right, and then it moves forward from there, okay? And so when you stress eat, it can lead to truly unhealthy eating habits. But if you don't recognize why you're stress eating, you really won't focus on what you're doing, right? So some of us mindlessly eat. And so let's look at some of the triggers. There is emotional stress. So I find that emotional stress is always tied into two other things. It's tied into a negative self-image where you don't really think that you are someone who deserves more and deserves better. You feel dissatisfied with yourself, right? And then stress eating or emotional stress eating is also tied into relationship issues. So if you're going through relationship issues, if you are not happy with the person you're with, we have a tendency to stress eat. That's something that I know personally. Not with my man now. I'm going to be honest with you. That man got me holding it down, so I'm not stress eating. However, when you are, oh, thank you. Hello, I hope you all are having a wonderful day. Thank you for all the likes. Keep them coming. Now, when you stress eat, there's always a trigger, right? And if you are attempting to lose weight for 2025, it starts with tackling what's going on up here first, right? As many times as I tried to lose weight, I never was successful until I learned that I was stress eating. Now, what do I mean by that? I went from a really bad relationship where I was engaged to someone. It had progressed to us having a really good relationship. That's right, Solison Jr. Stress eating is very important. It's an important topic. I had a very, very stressful relationship, and it went from that where I jumped from the frying pan, as they say, right into the fire, and I married someone, right, that I really didn't know. I was married to that person for over 20 years, and I gained over 100 pounds because of stress eating. Stress eating was triggered by my relationship. Stress eating was because I really didn't have a good self-image. How many of you are going through something like that? How many of you are dealing with family trauma or issues and you stress eat because you're trying to deal with those issues? It's very serious. We focus so much on the problem that we don't realize the problem is contributing to our excessive weight gain. Once again, thank you for all the likes. We're talking about stress eating and setting weight loss goals for 2025. We don't want to sabotage ourselves. It all starts with your mindset. So one of the things that I had to realize is that my health was important. My health. Hello, Cusino. Hello, Larry. How are you all? Thank you all. Romanstead, thanks for all the likes. Keep them coming. So I had to realize that the stress eating was actually to my detriment. Okay? I had to realize that one of the triggers was number one, the negative self-image. My first relationship that didn't culminate into getting married to that gentleman, it really did do me some emotional stress and trauma. And I hadn't dealt with those issues. I went straight from that relationship into a marriage with someone that I really didn't know, who really wasn't compatible. And because they weren't compatible, we didn't view life goals the same. We didn't encourage each other the way that a couple should, right? And so that caused me to stress eat. Now I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm in a location where the internet keeps dropping. It's going back and forth, back and forth. So if I lose you guys, I'm gonna be on live for about a half an hour. I hope you guys are able to get back on, because starting this process of losing weight, we have got to identify why we stress eat, why we sit there and we do harm to ourselves instead of addressing the actual issue. So over a course of time, I gained over 100 pounds in my first marriage. I was not happy, but let me even back up before then. Thanks for all the likes, guys. I really appreciate it. The first relationship, I actually had gained 30 pounds in 1 month. It was so bad. I gained 30 pounds in 1 month. Who does that? Have you ever gained 30 pounds in 1 month? Can I tell you how that warped my senses? Can I tell you how it was such a hot mess? I went to go try on. Good evening, Collins. How are you? I'm going to tell you, I went to go try on my wedding dress. And how is it that 2 months later, most brides, they get so excited, they get on a diet, they lose weight, right? I was so stressed in this first relationship that I actually gained 30 pounds in a 2-month time period. It was less than 2 months. It was like 30 months. I felt my clothes getting tighter, but I was really going through it with this relationship and this guy who didn't appreciate who I was, right? He really didn't love me. And I was so negative about myself and my appearance, thinking that I wasn't worthy of his affection and his love. Thank you so much for liking the live, guys. Keep them coming. Give me roses. Give me what you can. I really appreciate it. So that stress eating culminated in me starting the weight gain process. And if you don't address it right then and there, you really don't see the weight continue to creep up on you. You don't see the weight gain until you're way deep in. And then you're so busy focusing on trying to appeal to that other person that you don't focus on the weight gain and how to address the real issues in the relationship. That's what I learned. So emotional stress from relationships with friends and family, that can cause you to gain weight. Thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate it. We are talking about stress eating triggers, things that are going to get us really focused to change our mindset for 2025. Because if you are going to lose weight and be successful on your weight loss journey, you have got to be focused on losing weight. So here's something else. Not only can that stress or emotional eating come from, your family, because that's an easy thing to identify sometimes. But also it can come from, your friends. We've all heard of the mean girl or the mean guy, right? Who will influence you in a negative light. And if you don't address those negative emotions in any relationship, I don't care if it is your spousal relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend relationship, family of some sort, or your friends or work, if you do not address those issues and you have a negative viewpoint of yourself, it is so hard to overcome stress eating. Once again, hi Sanasumia. Thank you guys for jumping on. Thank you for, supporting me during this journey. The weight loss journey for me has culminated into, you know, over 160-pound weight loss, me maintaining that weight loss, and me feeling better about myself. So the one thing that I had to do, I had to start thinking up here. Was I worth it? Right? I had to talk to people. And I'm going to tell you something else. It is family and friends that pulled me out of that mindset negatively of myself, right? It is friends and family that I had to confide in. And you can't confide in everybody. Y'all know that. But I had to confide in friends and family in order to help me change my mindset, to see me the way that they see me. So if you find yourself dealing with emotional stress, negative stress because of who you are or who you feel you are, or if you're going through relationship issues that have led you to emotional eating as a way of coping with your problems, then please seek help. Start getting your mindset, because this weight loss journey is going to have to be about you. And in order for you to be successful, number one, you're going to have to change your mindset. Number one, you're going to have to realize that you are worth it. Actually, you're more than worth it. And if you didn't hear it from anybody else, I'm telling you now. Okay? Thank you guys for all the likes. I really appreciate it. Now, those are 3 things that I think are kind of tied together into one, because emotional stress starts with something. Emotional stress is usually linked to relationship issues or negative self-image. And so those are things that may hinder you on your weight loss journey or setting goals, okay? The other thing, chronic stress, when you have prolonged exposure to stress, and this is something that's coming from my doctor. I'm going to put my disclaimer out here. You know I'm not a doctor. But some of us deal with chronic stress. Some of us have prolonged anxiety or exposure to stress, and it releases cortisone level, which can help us to move towards stress eating. It could be a trigger because we're always hungry. We always want something to satiate that desire, and so, or that stress or that anxiety. And so here's where your doctor's going to come in, okay? Here's where you're going to have to talk to someone in order to help them. Chronic stress from your job, Sanasumya, yeah, that can lead you to stressful eating. So you just want to make sure that you're getting the necessary help that you need, because that could also be a trigger for you to start craving, foods that really is the point of stress eating. Now, Sanasumya, you said something about chronic stress from your job. That leads us as a segue to the next point, work or school pressure. Our children are under pressure. We're going to talk about the kids first. I know when I went to school and I was in school, I didn't feel the pressure that young people feel today. Thank you all for your likes and thank you for joining. I didn't feel the pressure that young people feel today. Young people feel the need to either perform or conform. Okay, and what do I mean by that? You either perform, meaning that you have to be a high achiever, which creates its own anxiety and can be a trigger for some people, or you have to conform, right? You have to act like the masses, and that may actually be going against your grade, right? It goes against who you are, but you want to conform because you want to be socially acceptable and not have to deal with peer pressure. So young people today have school stress, and that can trigger stress eating. So be mindful of that if you're a parent. Be mindful, thank you guys, of the likes. I really appreciate it. Be mindful of what your child may be going through if you've noticed a change in their eating habits. It's the same thing with work. All of us who work are under some kind of pressure. Number one, we have goals to meet. Every year, your boss is going to tell you what your goals are, right? And you want to hit those targets and those goals. You know every year you're going to have an annual performance evaluation, right? That can be stressful. And then various project targets and those goals, you know every year you're going to have an annual performance evaluation, right? That can be stressful. And then various projects or tasks that we're given throughout the year by our jobs can prove to be very stressful. If you travel all the time, it can prove to be extremely stressful. So you want to make sure that that is not something that's causing stress eating. I know when I used to work, fortunately I work from home, but I know when I used to work in an office years ago, it would be nothing for me to go run out. I'm working on a project, got to get reports due. I'm feeling anxiety and stress. I run to the closest fast food store because there's a lot of fast food restaurants out here. And then I got my chips and my snack on my desk. And what am I doing? I'm sitting here stress eating. I'm sitting here. I got my burger, my fries, sauteed onions. I'm sitting here. I'm just gorging on food because I'm stress eating while I'm working on this project to get it done. Thank you everyone who joined. Thank you for joining the live. Thank you for all of the likes. We're talking about stress eating and changing your mindset for 2025 and how that's going to help you. If you haven't started your weight loss journey, you're going to get started in January 2025. Here's some things that are going to help you. So we talked about emotional stress, stress from negative self-image. We talked about work and school pressure, and we also talked about stress from relationship issues. All of these are triggers. All of these are things that may motivate you to start eating and stress eating. And so you got to identify what it's coming from. You have to know what it's coming from so that you know how to address it, right? That's what you got to do. And so when you learn how to address it, when you learn this is my trigger, you'll know how to better discipline yourself and have self-control, which is what we're going to talk about in part 2 of the stress eating on 12/12. What is 12/12? That's Thursday night. We're going to talk about part 2, stress eating, and how to control that. Now, another thing. So I'm up in the middle of the night. I'm watching a show. Hey girl, hey Miss Lady J, how are you? How you doing? Thank you for joining. So let me tell you something. I'm up in the middle of the night. I'm watching a program, right? I'm not sleepy. Maybe I've had a lot on my mind already with some of the responsibilities that I'm carrying. Maybe I am, thinking about things I got to do for work or things I got to do for the next day. I turn the TV on or I turn my phone on. And next thing you know, what you think I'm going to do? I'm going to hit that kitchen. I'm going to go get a snack, right? And instead of portion control, because sometimes if you up and your body is hungry, it's nothing wrong with getting a healthy snack and going back to bed. I believe that helps me get through whatever I'm going through. But what is not healthy to do is for me to stress eat. So I got a lot on my mind. I'm feeling a certain kind of way. I go get a whole bag of potato chips and I'm laying in bed and I'm just, before you know it, I've eaten a whole bag. That's stress eating. It is what is triggering, me to gain weight. And so we don't want to view sleep deprivation as something that's not a trigger for for stress eating. It's very important that we want to identify. So my problem may be I'm up in the middle of the night and maybe I need to not turn the TV on. Sometimes if you lay there, sometimes I'm just going to tell you, and my husband knows what I do. I turn on the thunderstorm music, right? And I start to let that play to relax me if I'm wide awake. I have to look for other alternatives instead of going to the kitchen and starting to eat. Thank you all for the live. Thanks for all the likes. I really appreciate it. Remember to like, subscribe, follow, repost, and share. Hopefully this information will be helpful to someone. Likes, I really appreciate it. Remember to like, subscribe, follow, repost, and share. Hopefully this information will be helpful to someone. So I have to get my mind right. Sometimes changing your mindset starts with just relaxing your mind, right? And so if you are up in the middle of the night, if you know that is one of the triggers for you to stress eat in the middle of the night, then you can look, Lady J, find something else other than a thunderstorm. If you look at a lot of these apps, they actually have different things other than the thunderstorms. They have running water, things like that, fire crackling. There are so many apps that you can download and that you can play at night in order to help you get comfortable. The goal here is to relax your mind and your body so that you can actually sleep. I actually also have used Dr. Teal's. He has a nighttime spray. So before I go to bed, I spray my pillows. It has melatonin in it. And I'm telling you, I get so tired that before you know it, I'm sleeping. But what I'm not doing is I'm not running to the kitchen, and I'm not going to get here and feed myself with something that's unhealthy for me. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for all the likes. I really appreciate it. So that is one of my triggers for stress eating. I had to realize what was causing it. I had to realize what I could do to combat it because it wasn't helpful. Stress eating at night because I'm not sleeping is going to cause a trigger for me, right? The trigger is the lack of sleep. So I had to address the lack of sleep and not the body's false sense that I'm hungry, if that makes sense. I hope that it makes sense to many of you. Boredom is another way. So I have nothing to do. Now, for me, that's really rare. It's really rare that I sit still. Everybody who knows me knows that I'm always running. Thank you guys for all the likes. I really appreciate it. Everybody who really knows me knows that I never have time to sit still. Hi, Roxanne. Hi, Augusto. Thank you for joining the live. Thank you so much for all the likes. I really appreciate it. So let me tell you, boredom is another trigger for stress eating. So if you have nothing to do, if you are tired and you just want to relax, or you've scheduled a day where you have nothing to do, that could be another trigger for stress eating. And so what happens is we are sitting by ourselves, nothing to do. Of course, we're going to want to eat something, right? Sometimes that happens. It could be a trigger for some of us to go ahead and go to the kitchen, get a bag of snacks, and make sure that we are satiated in some kind of way. Now, here's another thing that I found is really helpful. Once I identified what my vice is, and I know what my vices are. If you've watched my previous videos, they are double chocolate Milano cookies. Okay, I don't know if they sell them in your area, but they are so good. But then I'm also a chocolate eater, a chocolate lover. But then also, I love apple green now laters. I had them as a kid growing up. I don't know why I love them, but I do. And so those are some of my vices as far as things that I really like to eat. And I love Tostitos. I like the wheat scoops with some salsa. So what I had to realize is there are certain times when I can't keep that in my home. Because if I have it in my home, you know, Lady J, you like them too? Oh yeah. If I have those things in my home, everybody has a vice. Yes, give me the green apple now laters. I'm telling you, if you guys have those things in my home, everybody has a vice. Yes, give me the green apple now laters. I'm telling you, if you guys have never had now laters, I don't know what to tell you. They good. And they come in like strawberry, cherries. I know they don't sell them everywhere, but I'm telling you, if you grew up and you grew up in certain neighborhoods and you had a corner of cherries, I know they don't sell them everywhere, but I'm telling you, if you grew up and you grew up in certain neighborhoods and you had a corner store, you know what apple green now laters are, okay? And so I get those even today, and I'm a grown woman, and I love them. And so if I have them, I will eat them. And I know that's a trigger for me if I'm going through stress and I got a lot going on and I have to pull myself back because it's not beneficial to me in the long run. Number one, it spikes sugar, right? It is nothing but sugar. And even though it's satisfying when you're eating it, it's not beneficial for me in the long run, and I have to realize it's not something that's sustainable if I'm going to continue my weight loss journey, okay? So this is what we have to think about when we talk about the weight loss mindset. Changing your mindset before you dedicate and commit yourself to any program is so very important. And boredom, when you eat to fill time, when there's nothing else to do, that is also a form of stress eating. And that's something else that can impact us in our weight loss journey. And so one of the things that we can do is really hone in on what is making you eat at that moment. So I've developed a desire for certain hobbies, certain things that I do. Now, I don't do it as much as I used to because I don't have time, but there are a few maybe days in the year where I am going to eat something or you know, say that I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna focus on doing something creative and I wind up eating something. So before I actually kill my weight loss goal for that day or that week, I actually have to work on something. My hands have to be busy. So I will cook for my family because that relieves something, that relieves that boredom. Or I love to crochet. I love to crochet. I love it. I don't know why it's so fulfilling. I have tons of yarn and I make hats and scarves. I've made dresses for my kids when they were younger. You know, I've made shawls for people, ponchos for people. I made a sweater for my mom. Thanks for everyone who's joined. I really appreciate all the likes. This is what I have to do when I feel bored. I grab, you know, a crochet hook. I grab a pattern and I get to work, because that keeps my mind off of eating. That keeps my mind off of stress eating. I turn on a show and I just let that show run while I'm crocheting. I know it sounds like something that an older person would do, but I like to crochet. I do. If I could learn how to knit, I would do that too. And I had actually taken a couple of sewing lessons, and I had gotten really good with sewing a couple of years ago. Nowadays, things are so available on YouTube. If you're looking for a hobby and you have to get started, you can find a tutorial on YouTube. Thanks for everyone who's joining. I really appreciate it. We're talking about maintaining and controlling triggers that cause stress eating so that we could set our goals for our weight loss journey in 2025. You know, if you wish, Miss Lady J, if you wish and you want to learn how to crochet or, you know, develop a hobby, sewing or knitting, go to YouTube. I'm telling you, there's so many tutorial videos. I mean, there are videos out there that will take you from how to start your crochet loop, the first loop, and get started. There are certain videos out there that will actually take you from the beginning stages, even with sewing, telling you how to cut your pattern, telling you how to, you know, lay down your fabric, what fabric goes with what. So you can go to YouTube and just research it. It's right there. Want to learn how to paint? Do that. Go to YouTube. Now, I know a lot of people like Bob Ross. Thank you all for all the likes. You can actually go to YouTube and find similar people out there who are teaching you how to paint. And so the whole point is to actually develop a hobby so that if you are bored, you are not reverting to stress eating, because that is actually something that's actually doing more harm, right? In the long run, if you stress eat, then you will see and experience over time some weight gain. And so it's important to identify, when do I stress eat? What causes me to stress eat? How do I change my mindset so that I'm in a better place to start? January 1, if you're going to start January 1st, 2025, then let's get ready to do that. As I mentioned before, if you guys look at my TikTok, my YouTube channels, I've lost over 160 pounds. I'm maintaining right now. There's some things, some goals that I want to hit, some areas that I want to hit. But for the most part, the most massive part of my weight I've lost. And I'm telling you, it's worth it. But I had to start with my mindset. And so a lot of people now are planning out the end of the year. And some people are jumping ahead into 2025. And by doing that, they're getting themselves ready now for how to, you know, tackle the weight loss journey, start the weight loss journey for 2025. And so that's what I want. Thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate it. And so that's what people are doing. They're starting to tackle out, write out your meal plans. This is the time to do it. Change that mindset so that you are getting to your goals for 2025. Another point, because we talked about several, let's talk mindset so that you are getting to your goals for 2025. Another point, because we talked about several, let's talk about social to stress eat. Okay? And so one of the things that we realized, I started to notice, and I mentioned this in one of my earlier videos, every time I go to a function, there's food there. Let's be real. If I go to a party, if I go to a cookout, you know, especially during the summertime, you know, around this time of year, a lot of families are getting together. There's obviously going to be food there. And when certain events happen, weddings, baby showers, you know, even unfortunately losing a loved one, we comfort each other by means of food. And so what you might want to do also, let's say you've been on your weight loss journey, you've been maintaining, you've been on your journey and focus, and then all of a sudden you get invited to an event and it derails you. Well, don't get discouraged, because it happens to all of us. What we have to do though is realize that that may be a trigger. So what I started doing when I started my weight loss journey, you know, and I was invited to an event, I had to realize that I had to eat beforehand. See, I couldn't go to this event hungry. I just couldn't. Because if I go to the event hungry, I'm going to have like 4 or 5 hamburgers. I'm going to throw down the hot dogs. Let's be real. Thank you for all the likes. I really appreciate it, guys. And so if you keep on eating, you know, you're going to, or if you don't pre-plan for these kind of events, this may be a trigger for you to stress eat. And so that won't help you accomplish your goal. That will not help you to start your weight loss journey or to stay focused on your weight loss journey. This journey It's going to be a long one. Like I said before, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You are going to change your mindset for this journey ahead. And you are going to change in ways that you haven't even realized you could. You're going to gain more confidence as you grow into your new self. You are going to set goals and you are going to accomplish it once you realize the biggest goal for many of us is losing weight. Once you realize that you can accomplish losing weight, other goals will follow and they will seem easier to tackle because you've tackled such a substantial one. You realize that, right? And so thank you for all of the likes. I really appreciate it. When you tackle one major goal in your life, I'm telling you, the other goals seem to come and go, and they're very easy to endure and plan out. And so social and cultural factors, being in an environment where food is used as a form to celebrate, could also be a trigger for stress eating. So we talked about a lot, right? We said a lot. Let's recap some of the things we talked about. Stress eating triggers. That's what this whole live is about. What we can do to overcome it. For you guys who missed most of it, I am going to repost it. I am going to make sure that we do part 2 on Thursday. It might be around between 3:30 and 4:30. Hopefully you'll get the indication. Please follow me on TikTok. That way you'll know when we start the live to talk about the part 2 of stress eating. We're not going to be talking about the triggers that we've outlined, but we're going to talk about using discipline and self-control in order to control our stress eating, because that's also so important. Now, we talked about emotional stress. When you're anxious and you are going through something, maybe it's family problems, maybe it is a negative self-image, because to me, those three things are always kind of looped together, right? When you have emotional stress eating, the trigger could be what you're going through with your family or your friends or your self-image. And so for that, like I said, I'm not a doctor. Nobody is judging you. Nobody's being judgmental. Please get the help that you need to help that, right? But then also, we talked about chronic stress. Some people are dealing with chronic stress, and that raises your cortisone level, and it causes you to crave those high-calorie, sugary foods. And so that's something else that could be a trigger. Then we also talked about the pressure that we feel at work and school to perform, either perform or conform. Hi all who have joined. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate you joining into this live about stress eating triggers. We talked about work and school performance. You either have the feeling that you have to overachieve, you have to either perform or conform, right? And so that pressure can cause anxiety and it can cause you to stress eat. That work performance or school performance pressure that we're all under can cause you to stress eat, and that could be one of your triggers. And we all performance or school performance pressure that we're all under can cause you to stress eat, and that could be one of your triggers. And we also talked about the lack of sleep. So sleep deprivation is really, really serious. You know, obviously we all need our 8 hours. Some of us get 6 hours and we're able to function off of that. However, if you find yourself up in the middle of the night and you're not able to get the sleep that you need, and you are going to the kitchen, getting something to eat, you know, that could be a trigger. That could be why you are stress eating. And that could be something that you want to work on to change your mindset so that you can get your weight loss goals in tune for 2025. Hi, Vicky. Hi, everyone who joined. I really appreciate all the likes and thank you for joining the live. And so one of the things, like I said, if you want to be successful on this weight loss journey, it's going to have to be something where you are actually changing your mindset in order to identify triggers, identify what's causing you to overeat if you're stressed out. Being bored is another thing we talked about. When I am bored, I eat. And I already told you guys what my vices are. Yeah, those Milano cookies, apple green alligators, Tostitos, the wheat flavor with some salsa. I'm good. And so I can't keep those snacks in my house. Because I found that if I don't have them in the house and I got to make the effort to go get them, I'm not going to get them. And that helps me not to stress eat. But what it also helps me when I'm bored is I found a hobby. I love to crochet. I don't know what your hobbies are. Put them in the comments so that we can talk about what we like to do as far as stress eating and what we can do in order to avoid stress eating. And then that's something that you can do so that you recognize it's a trigger. I'm bored, I'm going to eat. You address that trigger. You crochet, knit, sew, paint, do something in order to, counteract that feeling of boredom so that you are not stress eating. And then we also talked about social and cultural factors. We often use food as a source of comfort. And so when you do that, and when you find that, it's so important to plan ahead so that you are not just blindly eating when you get to an event. I love cookout food. I love going to a picnic. I love the way the burgers taste on the grill. I love the way the hot dogs taste on the grill. I'm not going to lie about that. However, I had to realize that if I was going to be successful on my weight loss journey, I couldn't eat all of those foods. I had to get a hold of my stress eating trigger, and I had to actually prepare for the event. So if I knew the event was coming up a week from now, I made sure that I was going to eat a healthy meal before I go, and that I was going to be satisfied so that I could learn to tell myself no, so that I wouldn't stress eat. And so that's something else that's so important when we talk about getting started for this weight loss journey. So understanding your triggers. Why is it so important to identify your triggers that cause stress? Because when you understand the triggers that cause you to stress eat, then you'll start to manage your stress a little bit better, and the stress eating more important. So you'll go, you know what, that's the trigger. Let me address it. Let me tackle it. Let me work on it. And then once you've overcome that, then you can work on the next trigger, because most of us have more than one. Okay, we have more than one. As I mentioned before, sometimes it could be relationships. Well, I've been there. Been in relationships where I've gained a substantial amount of weight, and then I turn around and I realize the relationship wasn't good, and I didn't have a positive self-image of myself, which is why I gained so much weight. And so when you address those things, when you address those triggers, it's a lot better for you, and things will, work out for you a lot better. Also, I'm not a doctor, so some of you think that I may sound a little judgmental when I give some of these. I'm only talking from past experience, the things that I've encountered, my own experience. I'm always going to encourage people to seek professional help if they feel like their stress or their anxiety is overwhelming them. It is nothing wrong with that. In fact, we all encourage it, because at the end of this weight loss journey, at the end of the goal, no matter what your goal is, we just want you to be a healthier version of you, right? We want you upgraded. That's it. You are unique and special, who you are and how you are. But if you want to do the weight loss journey, it starts with changing and getting this right first. On 12/12, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about stress eating, part 2. We're going to talk about discipline and self-control and how that comes into play with the stress eating, because that's also so important, right? So the next live session that we're going to have between 3:30 and 4:30 Eastern Standard Time on Friday is going to talk about, hi Young, how are you? We're going to talk about using our knowledge that we have triggers that lead to us stress eating. We're going to talk about how we are going to manifest discipline and self-control, enact that so that we can tackle the stress issues, or the stress eating, and the triggers that are causing us to stress eat. It's so important, once again, that you identify the problem, address the problem, and don't beat yourself up for it, because we all have to get our minds right for whatever journey we are on in life. It's so important that we recognize that we don't walk this journey alone. That's another thing that you want to consider too. There are many people on a weight loss journey. A lot of us are either starting the journey, a lot of us are on the journey, or a lot of us are maintaining on the journey, right? But either way, we're all in this together. And so if we can help each other identify things that have worked for me. Hello, Nielsen Scott. Hello, how are you? Thank you for joining. If you can help yourself identify things that have worked for you to help you maintain your weight loss. So in other words, if I have hit my weight loss goal and I know what worked for me, and I'm telling you from my own experience, it is my obligation to turn around and help somebody else who wants to start the weight loss journey. And that's all this is about. So The opinions that I have are my own. I'm expressing my own experiences. I'm telling you things that I've been through and helping to encourage someone else. So don't feel like you need to start this journey by yourself. This is your girl, Essie. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, repost, and share. I'm going to tell y'all, you know, in the U.S. news, they're having this whole TikTok issue. I hope TikTok doesn't go away. However, if it does, you can find my tag name, Erica_Essie, on YouTube, my YouTube channel as well. Feel free to go over there and subscribe as well. This is your girl, Essie. I hope you have a wonderful day. I am completely out. Enjoy your day, guys. See you later.